So 2 weeks ago, the speakers in this series that we're starting today gathered up here in the front, and we divvied up the core elements that were uncovered in the Appreciative Inquiry Summary. The surveys, the roundtable discussions. And our service team decided that they wanted to call this series, Who Do We Say We Are? And they came to the meeting with this great outline, insights from the summary that Charlotte put together. And Charlotte's not back, is she? Yeah. Okay. You know that Charlotte went through more than 60 responses, pulled together all that information and looked for themes and pulled all that information together for us. It was a big undertaking, and we need to send her light and love at the amazing experience she's having at the Omega Institute. So we're having this great conversation, and before I can engage my internal filter, I blurt out, we need to discuss the discovery process. And Pat Moore goes, tell us more, Todd. We need to discuss the discovery process, to talk about the process that we've undertaken and really get people excited about the summit on Saturday. And as soon as those words left my lips, my internal dialogue was, shut up! You all have heard Pat Moore say this before. If you see that the trash needs to be taken out, it's probably your job to take the trash out. And that is a spiritual law that you need to know. If you see that it needs to be done, it's probably yours to do. If you see that it needs to be done, it's probably yours to do. In my mind, I refer to this as the law of Pat Moore. I know that this spiritual law predates Pat, but I call it that because whenever I make some pronouncement in my life of, here's a declaration of what I think. If Pat's nearby, that bionic ear of hers, yeah, no, but really, in all seriousness, this is an important law to remember in your life, especially when you are navigating significant change, like we're experiencing now at Unity in Greensboro. If you see that it needs to be done, it's probably yours to do. If I see that it needs to be done, it's probably mine to do. If I see that it needs to be done, it's probably mine to do. Will you affirm that with me? If I see that it needs to be done, it's probably mine to do. And that is a power statement. That statement drives home the fact that we are not victims of our circumstance. We have the creative power to take control of our experience. And so by now, it should be no surprise to anyone here that I am here today to talk about the discovery process. Back in February, this congregation faced significant changes. Change is uncomfortable for most of us. And when individuals or organizations face significant change, it's not uncommon to react out of fear. We react out of fear when we focus on what we don't have. We react out of fear and we focus on what we don't have and we want to replace it immediately. And we take an immediate action to fill the sudden void. I saw this firsthand in my life some years ago when my then partner and I, we had a beautiful 9-year-old Sheltie. In less than 3 days, Shane's health deteriorated so bad he couldn't even stand up. The day after we made the most loving decision we could make, and we said goodbye to Shane, that very next day I came home to a new puppy. My partner had gone and bought the last of a litter, a new Sheltie pup. All the other pups in that litter had been claimed. And we named her Cricket. We named her Cricket because she had this cute little hop when she would run. It was adorable. And 6 months later, and numerous vet bills later, we learned that Cricket's cute little hop was the result of a genetic deformity. Her sacrum had never fully formed, and she would be unable to run or jump for her entire life. Out of the fear of something being different, we made an impulsive decision, and we did not experience the desired results. Change is uncomfortable for most of us, and we often react out of fear, and we focus on what we don't have. Or we can do something different. We can pivot away from fear, and we can open to discovery. We can be open to the creative process. We can be open to the creative process because, after all, we are divine creators. And I believe that's what we've done here at Unity in Greensboro. We have pivoted away from fear. We have been open to discovery, and we now have an opportunity and an obligation to participate in the creative process. And I'm grateful that our congregation's leadership, our board, did not react out of fear. I'm grateful that our congregation's leadership chose to respond with appreciative inquiry over these past 6 months. And so today I want to share some thoughts about discovery, about wisdom, and about innocence. My judgment is that the discovery process for our congregation has to start with each of us making a personal spiritual discovery. If you're here a few weeks ago, you may remember the exercise that I shared from my coaching session with Elaine. Write down your core 5 values. And beside each, write why it's a core value. Your core values are constant. They perhaps even deepen. And they give shape to the service of your life. And your service is important to this congregation. Whatever you have come into this life to create, it is imperative to the people sitting around you that you create it. Whatever is right for you to do now, well, we all want you to do it. And figuring out your core values, figuring out what is right for you to do, that may take some work. That may take some sitting in the silence. It will require you to sit with Source, and it will require you to be open to possibility. And it might not hurt to reflect on these questions that Elaine also shared with me in coaching. What works? What gives you joy? Where do you get stuck? And what do you want to see differently? What works? What gives you joy? Where do you get stuck? And what do you want to see differently? And here's how those questions impacted my spiritual service. See, I like doing this. I love to do research, and I love to write, and I love studying metaphysics, and I love to share the ideas I learn with each of you. It gives me joy. And I get stuck when I have to iron clothes. If I ironed my clothes, I would be giving up 10 or more hours a week. I don't iron quickly. It's like handwriting for me. My ironing cannot be shabby. And I would rather not iron and spend time reading and writing and researching and sharing ideas with you. So not ironing allows me to express my core values of compassion and learning and creativity. Not ironing allows me to show up more fully in spiritual service. And these questions impact us as individuals, and they impact us as a congregation. It's these same types of questions that we asked in our discovery phase of appreciative inquiry. And there's a reason for that. I told you I love to research. So I was reading articles, and I came across A Blueprint for Change, Appreciative Inquiry. And the author states, in every organization, something works. Finding what works is a matter of discovering and giving voice to the stories that sow the seeds of positive change. Again, in every organization, something works. Finding what works is a matter of discovering and giving voice to the stories that sow the seeds of positive change. The article states, all of us have a dream house within a place that we can envision as the perfect setting for our perfect life. We believe this is also true for organizations, that people have a dream organization, a place where they and others can do their best work. With this idea of a dream house, the authors outlined the appreciative inquiry process like this. 1, carry the best of the past into the future. Make sure that beloved objects and characteristics are carefully packed for the move. It's easier to let go of the current state of affairs when we believe that in moving forward, we won't lose what we're most passionate about. See, that's our question. What works? What gives you joy? 2, harness the power of imagination and dreaming. Engage each individual in the opportunity to imagine their dream house, what it would look like, without concern for time, money, or any other resource. And that's our question. What do you want to see differently? And 3, create a blueprint for change that integrates the past and the future. To start developing clarity, distill the essence of the best of the past and the positive desires for the future in terms that are relevant to today's organizational reality. Create a blueprint for change. That's what we're going to do on Saturday. We're going to design our dream house, our dream organization. And finally, 4, begin the remodeling. Begin the new construction by matching resources with interests and abilities. Assess costs of labor, materials, craftsmanship, timetables. Find out who has the desire for constructing which part of the house, and who has energy for taking this structure to new heights. And that's the question, what is right for you to do now? Discovery is vital when planning our dream house. Our discovery efforts are most fruitful when we evaluate what we've learned with our spiritual power of wisdom. When I reflect on wisdom, I am reminded of King Solomon. In 1 Kings chapter 3, Solomon requested, "Give your servant therefore an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil, for who can govern your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, "Because you have asked for this, and have not asked for yourself long life or riches, or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your work. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you." Solomon asked for wisdom. And up to that point, Solomon's rule had been kind of bumpy. His efforts to solve problems himself had produced decidedly mixed results. This dream and his willingness to act on its message marks a clear turning point in the rule of the kingdom. He could have asked for wealth. He could have asked for power, military might, specific solutions to some of the nation's perceived problems. And instead, he asks for understanding. The innate ability to see God's will in all things. To discern the spiritually right choice in all challenges. And by choosing to affirm this power, to make it his greatest priority, he not only gains the understanding, but the prosperous, loving life that will express as a result of his understanding choices. The chapters of Kings in the Bible is the story of the evolution of kings. And here at Unity, we consider that Scripture is the description of the development of man's evolving consciousness. We see that Kings shows the evolution of leadership in man. My friend and mentor Frederick, he often reminds me that leadership includes being aware of the impact you have on others. And in reflection, I know that there have been times in my life when, although I may have been the manager, I was not a good leader. My decisions and actions were not based on understanding or compassions. Sometimes my decisions were based on, this is the way it's always been done. And in case that's not clear, I'll call it out. I was making decisions based on the fear of change. And I was unaware of the impact my fear was having on my team, on my organization, and my family. When we discern the spiritually right choice in our challenges, we can move forward from a place of openness and creativity. We joyfully wrap ourselves in that which has served us well and emerge with beautiful wings and the ability to fly. Yet when we move forward out of fear, to dispel the ego-based discomfort that change triggers, we are closed. We're like the caterpillar that resists the cocoon. We are resisting the divine change that we could experience. So I've covered that although change can be uncomfortable, it presents an opportunity for discovery. And discovery, when evaluated through divine wisdom, can help us stay open and focused on creativity. And that leads to the importance of innocence. And I'm going to turn one more time to Scripture. In Matthew chapter 18, we read, "At the time the disciples came to Jesus, saying, 'Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?' And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them, and he said, 'Truly, I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.'" Be open to the innocence of staying heart-centered. Be open to staying loving, to being joyful. Trust in divine guidance. Trust in divine wisdom. Trust our collective creative power to emerge from this change with the ability to fly. If we can discover our innocence in this process, we can be open to possibility. We can create a new way of serving. We can love our creation unconditionally and release it to become extraordinary. This coming Saturday, I hope you'll join me. Come as your expanded self with your heart open. Come with a zeal to create. Come with the compassion to communicate and the passion to collaborate. Together, we are only as strong as each individual is willing to do what is right for them to do. But we need you to come and join our leadership team. We are creating a brand new adventure. I'll see you Saturday.